Welcome to Good Faith Reads. I'm your host, Cliff Vaughn at Good Faith Media. Good Faith Reads is a short podcast in which we focus on one of our book authors at Good Faith Media. We've published hundreds of titles, and we invite you to check them out at goodfaithmedia.org/shop. Today's guest is Tim Seelig, author of Tale of Two Tims, published in 2020, as well as the new and free digital update, More Tales. He's joining us remotely from Portland. Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon, we're delighted to have you with us. If you would, tell our listeners, give us your elevator pitch, both for Tale of Two Tims as well as More Tales. What can folks expect from both?
I would love to do that. When I turned 70, it seemed like the right time to pen a memoir. At that point, my life had been divided exactly in half, with 35 years as a Baptist, a professional Baptist, and 35 years as a professional gay. So, I mean, how perfect was that to have Tale of Two Tims? So, obviously, I was apparently gay during the first 35 years as well, but nobody told me. They were afraid to tell me, and so they didn't. I think many of them in the church thought I could manage to get through my whole life without coming out or without telling anybody, but that just wasn't me. And so I came out at the age of 35 as the associate minister of music of First Baptist Church of Houston, a small church of 22,000 members when I came flinging out of the closet. So I wrote that book in when I was 70, and it was great. Unfortunately, it was published in 2020, June of 2020, and you'll all remember because that 2020, has red flashing lights for all of us. Everything had gone to pot in 2020, and so it kind of sat there, and it was lovely, and I was proud that it had happened. But here I am 5 years later, and oh boy, so much has happened in my life and in the world, and so people ask, why did you want to write some more? And the More Tale includes the rest of COVID, my retirement, and I'm using quotation marks because I didn't really retire. My husband was diagnosed bipolar, which was quite a moving experience. I moved to Portland, Oregon. I'm spending 3 days a week at the Oregon Humane Society with the puppies and kittens. And I will just tell you, having spent 35 years with the Baptists and 35 years with the gays, I deserve the puppies and kittens. It is my reward. They are solo maintenance. It's fantastic. I did a TEDx speech, which was just amazing, and won the Moth Grand Slam. So I've been doing a lot. I started a new chorus and just conducted at Lincoln Center the 25th anniversary of Sing for the Cure, which is the breast cancer symphony that I commissioned 25 years ago. So other than that, that's what's been happening in the last 5 years. So I thought when I turned 75, I'd like to fill out those last 5 years. And the next five, I'm going to write a very short book that says, I sat by the river in my recliner and don't bother me. Get off my lawn. That's the next book.
Well, you haven't slowed down, and I'm glad puppies are in your life. Everybody needs more
Yes.
puppies.
Yes, indeed.
I want to get your reaction to a passage from Tale of Two Tims. It's on page 121. Here's a quote. At one point, and they refers to your parents, at one point they asked why I kept talking about my coming out. I reminded them of what they had always told me, that the day they accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior was the most important day of their lives. From that moment forward, every single day for them had been different from those before, and they gave witness to that at every opportunity. And so it was with my coming out. From that day forward, everything changed. I'm just bearing witness. Elaborate on that a little bit, please.
Wow. Well, I'm not sure exactly what more I can say. When I came out, it was huge. The name was Seelig. My father was the vice president of Southwestern Seminary. My mother was on the faculty of Southwestern Seminary. My brother was a star in the Southern Baptist Church. So I couldn't have been a Smith or a Jones. No, I had to be Seelig. So every little preacher boy and choir director who went through the seminary in Fort Worth knew the name Seelig. So my coming out was spectacular, and I was on everybody's prayer lists, which was fantastic. But I needed the prayer, and they needed the practice. So I then, as my son said much later, Dad, it wasn't so much that I minded you being gay, but I didn't know you wanted to be the king of the gays. So I took on this job in Dallas. Of course, it had to be Dallas, of conducting a gay men's chorus. And it went really well and became, and still is, the finest men's chorus in the world. So, but it just so happened that I was in the newspaper. I was in the Dallas Morning News a lot, uh, doing things, being an activist, AIDS activist, all this stuff. And my parents' friends got the Dallas Morning News delivered to their front doorstep. So this was a constant, just turn the knife. They were both retired. And living on Seminary Hill in the president's home, so they just kept saying, why can't you just be quiet about this? I mean, literally, why can't you just go direct your little choir and surely 30 miles from Fort Worth is far enough. No, it wasn't. So they kept doing it and just kept, please, can you just be quiet? And I was like, so can you be quiet about your life because you've lived your entire lives bearing witness to the day that Jesus said, I know the date that each of them accepted the Lord as their Savior, because they talked about it a lot. And so we were having a mild argument about this, and I finally just said, what's the greatest day in your life? And each of them said the day that I was saved. And I said, well, the greatest day in my life was when I was saved. And I was saved from the lies and the horror. I don't think people understand how incredibly difficult it is to live a lie with a wife and children and people watching. And there is no question that most of us consider suicide. No question, whether we say it or not. I certainly did. I just thought if I went away, it would be so much easier. So the day I came out was not a happy one, and for a year after that, it was I had no idea what I would do or where my life would take me, but I did know that I had told the truth, and there was this huge weight lifted, even though the weights of divorce and alimony and all those things and how do you manage that were still weighing me down. At the end of the day, nobody could say anything about me or to me that would hurt me or to anybody else because I was out. The truth was out, and um, you know, it's not the only time I've had to come out. Unfortunately, about 20 years ago, I guess, I zero converted, which means I became HIV positive, and it was another coming out. I had to sit down with my daughter, who was, before her death, a nurse. And then I was estranged from my son, and I had to come out to him, even in our estrangement, and say, I'm HIV positive. And, you just think at some point, enough coming outs already. I'm out, all that stuff. But I think living a bold life of truth is always going to be that risk.
Yeah. Well, you talk about so many people with your experience contemplating suicide and thinking things would just be better if I weren't here, if I weren't around, and that it hurts to hear, and I'm so sorry that was part of your experience. And yet, as someone who grew up in the church myself and is familiar with the cruelty that sometimes comes from organized religion, I can at least imagine, I think, that kind of pain. And I would like to talk about organized religion for a moment, because as I read both of your books, they were funny, honest, painful, specific, which was one of the things I loved about it, was how specific they were and are. But on page 250 of Tale of Two Tims, you noted some of the cruelty in organized religion. I wondered, can we salvage quote unquote good faith from organized religion in some way? If so, how? What do you think?
I would have, having finished this book in this past November of 2025, I may have given a bit different answer than I would today in February of 2026, as we have watched organized religion hunker down and support the cruelty and the lies and even the murder. I can't, I mean, I feel like organized religion, and we're talking about organized religion. We're talking about groups of people who will get in a room and lie to each other and praise Jesus. Uh, First Baptist Dallas. Since I conducted the gay men's chorus in Dallas for 20 years down the street from First Baptist Church, we had many interactions. And I watched that church and I watch organized when people do this. People are sheeple and they get in a room and they'll believe um, whoever they have put their trust in. And of course, I believe those people have put their trust in Robert Jeffries as opposed to Jesus. Um, I don't know about the organized thing because we as people, we're not independent thinkers for the most part, and we don't have the courage to say that's not right. I think with the recent ice, and you had warned me that you were going to ask about me taking my old people choir down to sing at the ICE detention center. Um, but I think with these days, it's going to organized religion will continue to do its job, and I mean the bad part of its job. It's not just the gays or we gays that feel rejected by the church and feel that if we don't follow the strict rules, then we would be better off. There are people I know this because, as I mentioned, in the last 5 years, my husband has had bipolar one diagnosis. He grew up evangelical, deep evangelical, and he has had these same experiences when he came out, and then through this diagnosis, the shame is deep, and that has nothing to do with being gay. And I know people of all circumstances, when they feel they have let down their parents or left the rules of the church, feel they should end their lives.
We'll be right back with more Good Faith Reads.
I'm Mitch Randall, CEO of Good Faith Media. We're a nonprofit dedicated to inclusion for all, freedom for all, and justice for all. And we invite you to support us in this work by becoming a Good Faith Advocate. Everyone who donates $50 or more per year becomes a Good Faith Advocate. You'll get our free quarterly magazine, discounts at our bookstore, access to other exclusive content, and much more. You'll also be supporting media content and journalism that makes a difference. Consider becoming a Good Faith Advocate today at goodfaithmedia.org.
Welcome back to Good Faith Reads. Today we're joined by Tim Seelig, author of the Good Faith Media book Tale of Two Tims and its follow-up More Tales. I'm Cliff Vaughn of Good Faith Media. Tim, on page 29 of More Tales, you say, "If you know me, I am really a 13-year-old mischievous imp." How does a 13-year-old mischievous imp manage to write books? Talk about your writing process, Tim.
Right. Well, along with growing up, the good Southern Baptist that I did, along with that, my father, who was German, instilled in me a work ethic that I can't get rid of yet. I mean, I keep trying and it's not working. And so overachiever and all the type A, all those things. And so I worked really hard. I was working very hard in the church and singing opera and moving to Europe and getting degrees and all that stuff, just working. And along came a man with a Hal Leonard publishing company and said, "Would you write a book on choral technique?" And I thought, well, I can do that. And so I wrote a book for him. I said to them, "I will write you a book as long as you will not remove my humor." And so I wrote this book on warming up a choir. It's called The Perfect Blend. And they only removed one section. I'm happy to say that I will not tell you what it was, but it was maybe a little off color. But the book is funny along with being a choral a guide. And so that worked out fine. And then I wrote another one, and then it ended up being, I wrote 6 books in total about choral music and singing. So that kind of got me ready. And then after coming out and then moving to San Francisco, the gay paper in San Francisco said, "Would you write a monthly article?" And I was like, well, okay, I can do that. So that was the part 10 years ago. I've been writing a monthly article for 10 years where I got to start sharing more about my life and my journey that was not about choral music, but it was just about whatever was in my mind or on my heart each month. So when it came then time to write the memoir, I had a great path. I had some things to pull because I'd written about my past in little increments. And I give credit to the 2 publishers of the San Francisco Bay Times in More Tales and in Tales of the City as a thank you for getting me in the habit of writing about my life and being open and sharing things different than the choral technique books. So it was kind of a coming together of 2 worlds.
Yeah. 2 worlds and 2 Tims.
Yep.
Yeah. An important note to all of our listeners, we at Good Faith Media are always accepting book proposals. Our authors engage with an experienced team of editors, designers, and marketers to produce and sell books on a variety of topics. If you have a book proposal you'd like to run by us, head over to goodfaithmedia.org for more information. More Tales, the sequel, if you will, to Tale of Two Tims, is available now as a free digital download. And as you noted, you don't have to have seen the original to appreciate the sequel, but the sequel is current, and you reference singing outside the ICE facility in Portland just a few months ago. Could you read for us a paragraph or a favorite passage from More Tales and tell us why you think it's critical for listeners to hear right now?
Oh, I would love to do that. The interesting thing about what I've gotten involved in now is I started a new choir. I thought I was going to retire at 70, and I moved up here happily, and some folks decided to start a choir of, it's called Sage Singers. The choir is, you have to be 55 to audition. And so a year ago, we started the Sage Singers, and I thought, okay, why not? Well, as it turns out, we have 100 singers with average age of 70, and it's incredibly fun. It's Q plus elders and allies. So it's gay people and straight people. And so last fall, the lies, well, I'm certain you've read about the terrible alternative facts that Portland is burning to the ground and is a war zone. Well, that's a miracle since there's no fire or smoke anywhere, and people are still doing all the gorgeous things Portland has to offer. And you've probably seen our governor fighting along with Washington and California. The main reason I'm writing at this very time is because of an outreach performance we did this past week. The Portland Sage Singers went down to sing at the ICE detention facility. If you've seen the protests, they're all filled with humor. And so we went down with a lot of course, protest songs, but also the humorous ones. And one of those was the spoof that's been done on Why Are There So Many Rainbows, the Rainbow Connection. And It's delicious. You'll have to get the More Tales to read it because I can't read that online. But you can certainly read it there, and you may have seen it online. It is hilarious, and I am caught by what you said about More Tales is free. What? Where's my commission in I'm getting a commission on free? What is that about? Um, it's as we were discussing this about how to do it and how to make it work, it was uh, something that Good Faith Media had never done before, and I didn't know how do you write um, chapters. I think it's 185 pages or something like that, but which you could try to sell for $5 or something like that. And then we just decided, oh no, let's just give it away for free, which I thought was crazy, but I also think it's awesome. So anyone listening to this, all you have to do is click on something, and it will come to your doorstep, and then maybe you'll be inspired to buy the first book. I will say that for those of you out there in Radio Land listening, um, if you grew up anywhere near the church, you should get this book. The first part of the book, before I come out, it's hilarious. If you grew up Baptist, I talk about the GAs and the RAs, and only old Baptists would know what that is. But I loved the girls' auxiliary debutante ball with all my heart, and I wanted to be a lady in waiting. And I mean, it's hilarious. It's just it is the Baptist version of the debutante, the Southern debutante ball. But you'll see yourself. I was supposed to be a Southern Baptist womb to tomb, and I sprung out halfway through. Well, we don't know that it's halfway.
Well, we hope people will download More Tales and let that be the gateway drug to buying Tale of Two Tims,
Hey,
which is well worth it. And it is full of music and humor and empathy. And there is much to ponder from Tim Seelig. Our guest today on Good Faith Reads has been Tim Seelig, author of Tale of Two Tims, as well as the newly released More Tales. The books, along with many other titles, are available at goodfaithmedia.org. Tim, thanks so much for being our guest today.
you're so welcome. Thank you.